Hello, this is Joanne Hewins from lovetocreate.typepad.com. Welcome to my April class that I usually have in my home, but I'm having online this time. I'm just showing you the cards we would have made and how to make those. This is the card for Tuesday, April 7th, and it is a card made using, let me find it, the Easter Promise stamp set. This is in the January-June catalog. I know Easter is coming up pretty quickly, so maybe a little late to make an Easter card, so we're going to have a little bit of an alternative in case you would rather do something different. This all started with, this is the first card that I made using this stamp set, and I did it for another group. Looking back, I see that I didn't even get this piece through here straight. So I'll talk to you about what to do to get that put on there correctly. And I simplified the card a little bit for the class. I left this part down here off. I think it looks just as good and maybe just a little bit less work. But you saw what it would look like if you decided to add that. Now I had to stamp that 2 times. And I hid the seam behind this piece of paper here. So let's get started on the card. And I'm going to be using a piece of gorgeous grape. This is 5.5 by 8.5. I don't have this one scored, but you just fold it in half. And I'm just going to kind of match my corners there and push that down, and then I'll just use my bone folder to get a good crisp fold there. Okay, the next layer is a Whisper Light white layer. This is 4 by 5 1/4, and I do have a tutorial that you can download. All of that will be under this video, a link to my website, but it's lovetocreate.typepad.com. Now, I did run this through the subtle embossing folder. I ran it through twice, and I think a video later in the week I'll actually show you online how to do that, but I did it this way and ran it through the machine, and then I did it this way and ran it through. And that gives kind of a linen look to the card. I don't know if you can actually tell that or not. Then on this, we're going to be putting some of the gorgeous grape check. This is from the Brights 6x6 Designer Series paper. This is in the annual catalog. And this is 5 1/4 by 1 1/2. Yes, 1 1/2. And so what I'm going to do next is just glue this to the center of this piece. Now to do that, I'm going to use my grid paper, and I'm going to place it so that this is in the middle. And I want to be able, I'm using this thick the boulder line through here, and I want to be able to see that line from both ends. And what I'm going to do is place my card so that that bold line is in the center. And I'm just going to count my squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that will do it right there. So there's 8 on each side. I can see that I've got it straight down through here. So this should also be in the middle. So I'm going to try to leave that there without moving it. And I'll put my glue on this piece. And so I will use that. I want to get the same number of squares on each side. Oops. On each side of that. So it will be 3 squares on this side and 3 squares on the other side. And then I'm going to look at that down at the bottom. and get that the same, and that way it's directly down the center of my card layer. All right, now the next thing that I'm going to do is use this banner right here, and that came from, excuse me, knocking stuff around. That came from the Stitched So Sweetly dies. These are also in the January-June mini catalog, and I used this die for that. And I did go ahead and cut it out ahead of time just to save a little bit of time. And I'm going to adhere this to the card. I'm just going to glue it because I want to put my flowers on dimensionals. And I want to think about mailing the card and it going through without maybe extra postage. So I'm going to lay this down. I'm going to do it up a little higher. The glue is going to give me a little bit of moving space. And I'm kind of looking at the sides and making them about the same for that. So there we've got that. And we'll go ahead and start working on our flowers. In fact, I can actually go ahead and glue this to the base of the card. So I'll just go ahead and do that, and it'll get a piece out of the way. And that slid just a little bit. I do want it to be straight. Okay. I thought I had it. I believe it's too late to fix. Okay? Do as I say, not as I do. Okay? I'm going to just go ahead and put a little bit more glue up under there to get that stationary now, and it will be what it is. But you do want to make that as straight as possible. And you know, this is just something that happens if you're going to try to do it in front of other people. So I have some scrap paper here, and I'm going to stamp my flowers on there. And once again, this is from the Easter Promise stamp set. So I'm going to ink this up in my Memento Black. When it's a bigger stamp on a bigger block, it's just, to me, easier to stamp from the top like that, or to apply your ink from the top. So let me stamp that. There, that looks pretty good. And we will work on doing our coloring for this. And I'm going to be using light and dark Highland Heather, light Granny Apple Green. I have two of those out for some reason. Light Daffodil Delight and light Mango Melody for my coloring. So I'm going to make this little piece inside here. Actually, I'm going to color a little bit past that so that it looks like there's some pollen down in there. And then I did that with the light Mango Melody. And then I'm going to go ahead and color this flower in the Highland Heather. And I'm just going to color all over. I'm trying to color just right inside the lines there. Okay, and then I'm going to put some of the darker Highland Heather. Actually, this time I'm going to put it around the outside of it a little bit more. And I'm going to have the inside just a little bit lighter than the rest. So I'm going to come back in with this light and just blend that line in a little bit. Oops, and I just went out of the lines. Sorry about that. Then I'm going to come over here with the light, and I'm just going to color in a few little spaces on this, and that's all I'm going to do on it. So that's that. And then for this other flower, I'm going to color all over it with the light. I'm going to turn around and use my smaller end on this one. The other end is frayed. As I might have mentioned on some of the other videos, it's time for me to replace quite a few of my blends. I've used them a lot. We've used them in class. They just work so pretty. They're so easy to use, and I love them. So then I'm going to come back in with the Mango Melody and just kind of do in some of these little valleys here and some of the lines that are in there, and then some of this down in here. I'm going to make a little bit darker. Then I'll just ease that out just a little bit. All right, and now we're ready to color our stems, and I want to use the smaller end on that. Okay, so that's all I did to color that. I'm going to go ahead and stamp again this flower. Okay, and I'm going to color it again. So let me get my light. Well, let me get my Mango Melody part. This is going to go on the inside of the card. I do like to do the insides as well as the out. So we'll just do it the same as we did a minute ago. And again, I'm going to make the outer part a little bit darker than the inner. Don't usually do it that way, but okay. And then we'll come back in and do that stem. All right, that will take care of our coloring. And now we have some fussy cutting to do. And I know some of you like it, some of you hate it. We'll just do the best we can do. Now this one is a little bit more difficult to cut than maybe something else, but we will do our best. I do like to leave a little bit of white space around it, It's not always a uniform, although your ideal it would be, but for me it's not always uniform, but I think it's a little more forgiving when you do that. And I do try to move the paper more than I move the scissors. That's a little bit hard to see. So I'm going to go in from this direction. Get that a little bit better. Not going to be able to make that cut, that turn. Okay. And we are about done. Now we have this one piece right here that I am just going to cut off. Okay. Now it's not going to matter so much about the pieces of white that are left here on the inside, because our bottom piece is also white. So that's just not going to matter. All right. So we're going to put this on dimensionals and then add it to the card there. Let me find some dimensionals. Okay, here's some pieces. I hope that you use all of the pieces of your dimensionals. You certainly would never want to throw those away. And then here's some more. I somehow end up having little bits and pieces of dimensionals hanging around everywhere. Now, boy, the parts you pull off, do you find those in really strange places? So I'm going to add that to that banner. And then we need our ribbon. For the ribbon, I'm going to be using the Whisper White Crinkled Seam Binding. And I'm going to be coloring it with the dark Highland Heather marker. So I'm going to pull in my bow maker. Let's see how big I made that bow. Yeah. So, and I made it a double bow. So what I'm going to do is go around 2 times, and then I'm going to just kind of measure that out and cut, and then we'll color. And I'm going to just bring in, well, I've messed up that paper anyway, so I don't guess it matters. I was going to bring in some scrap. I'm going to use my wide end, and I'm just going to color it. It only takes a minute. I'm doing just kind of the side of the marker. I'm not using the point. And it dries very quickly. So it's really about ready to use. It changes the feel of it just a little bit, but look, I just did it and it's not really wiping off on my fingers. So I'm going to do my double wrap. This goes on top, then back behind, and then I'll tie that. And there's my bow. Pull this piece out a little bit so you can see the double part. And then I'm going to add it with a glue dot. Had to look for those for a minute. I just put that on the glue dot and then pull it right off. And then it will go right in here. On my bouquet. And I'll just trim my ends. And there's that part. Now, for the saying on this one, I did Easter blessings. I used the stamp set Itty Bitty Greetings. This is in the annual catalog. It comes in 2 packages. And I used the Easter blessings right here. I stamped that on a piece of scrap paper. I punched it out with the classic label punch, and then I trimmed the ends to fit right on the card. But since it's close to Easter, I'm going to give us an alternative for this. And so I really have 2 things that I'm going to show you. This one uses the Hey Friend that is also from Itty Bitty Greetings. It's right here on this one. And I also used the stitched nested labels. And to get the Hey Friend, I had to use this one, and it would fit like that down at the bottom of the card. And then when I was trying to think about the inside, I decided that I wanted to use the So Sentimental and use the Your Friendship is a Blessing. And so this also had the For You. So I thought, well, let's try that, and then it'll just all be from one stamp set. So I used the For You from So Sentimental, and I was able to use this smaller stitch nested label for that. And that would fit here. I would probably just put that on dimensionals. So I'm going to choose to use that one. And yes, you can see I messed up the first time. Didn't get it stamped really good. And then I'm going to add that down here. And you can use your checks to help you keep that even. So those were a couple of alternatives, and there is the For You. I can see that because I had some trouble with my taping that this is sticking up a little bit. So I'm going to take my piercer and just stick a glue dot under there to hold that a little better. Okay, and now we're going to work on the inside of the card. So I'm going to be using this, Your Friendship is a Blessing. And let me move this out of the way. And I will be using the Gorgeous Grape to stamp that. Just tap, tap, tap. Don't push it down in there. You can see I've got it inked, but I don't have it around the edges. Okay. Straighten my paper up. And that's pretty straight. And then I'm going to add 1 flower. This is the inside of the card that I made already. And I did use from the from the Easter Promise stamp set, I used the May the promise of his wonderful gift fill your heart with peace and joy. So that was that one. This one will be more of a friend card. So I'm going to cut out this flower. And because it has this extra grungy stuff, I am going to try to cut, I think, right on the stem just for that part. Okay, please excuse the lawnmower. My husband's getting some exercise. Okay. Okay, and then I'm going to glue this down here on the corner of that paper. Okay, and then we'll put this on the inside of the card. So this one becomes just a friend card rather than the Easter card. That purple really is a gorgeous color, isn't it? It's a gorgeous grape, but really pretty. So here you go. We have the two cards, that the Easter card and then the friend card. And I hope you like those. This is our card, our class card for Tuesday, April the 6th. I would love for you to comment on my video. And if you do comment on my video, I'm going to give somebody a pack of this paper. This is just designer series paper belonging to Stampin' Up. Most of it's current. Some of the celebration would be out by a few days. And it's cut at 4 by 6, so it's enough for you to get a card front with a little bit of something that you could use for the inside or the outside. And there are 25 sheets. This will be for people who are in the United States. Please tune in every day this week from April 6th through April 10th. I'll be having my card class on there, and I'll have a card every day. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.